Look at the highest seats of power across the galaxy. The emperors, the guilds, the great houses, they all operate under a comfortable illusion. They believe their massive armies and monopolies give them absolute control over the universe, but they are entirely blind to the forces orchestrating their downfall from the shadows. Deep in those shadows sits the Bene Gesserit Sisterhood. For millennia, they have run a highly classified human breeding program. Reverend Mother Anarol directs this immense genetic web by tapping into her other memory, a vast collective consciousness of her ancestors' experiences that guides her every decision. This diagram illustrates their ultimate objective. The Sisterhood is trying to engineer a supreme messianic being known as the Kwisatz Haderach. By analyzing the DNA of thousands of bloodlines, Anarol calculated they are 3 generations away from that final endpoint. But to make that leap, the math demands one specific branch. The Sisterhood needs a daughter from their most dangerous rival, the ruthless Baron Vladimir Harkonnen. The Baron considers himself an untouchable apex predator. Operating from his dark industrial stronghold on Giedi Prime, he hoards immense wealth, runs sadistic hunting games, and answers to no one. Moving a man like the Baron requires a different kind of pressure. You cannot bully a predator who controls the very ground you stand on. To bend him to their will, they must bypass his armies entirely and leverage the secrets he believes are perfectly hidden from the light. To find that leverage, the Sisterhood sends Margot Rashino Zia to a freezing Harkonnen outpost called Lankavale. Margot is a highly trained Bene Gesserit assassin, but she bypasses the outpost security simply by posing as a submissive, unremarkable servant. She blends into the background, washing floors and serving meals. This chart reveals exactly what she found by quietly slipping into the financial archives. The data compares the artificially low spice output the Harkonnens reported to the Emperor against a significantly larger volume of actual production. The Baron is embezzling the most valuable substance in the universe to hoard a massive, illegal fortune. Reverend Mother Mohiam takes this information straight to the Baron on Giedi Prime. We can see the devastating ripple effect of this secret being exposed. If Mohiam hands these ledgers over, it triggers immediate imperial audits and prompts the Emperor to send his elite Sardaupar military to wipe out the Harkonnen family entirely. Backed into a corner, the Baron submits. To protect his illicit wealth and his life, this supposedly invincible ruler agrees to provide the genetic material the Sisterhood requires. The galaxy's most dangerous predator is brought to heel. No fleets were deployed, and a single shot was never fired. A strategic application of economic espionage completely dismantled his power. This strategy of hiding in plain sight extends to entire planets. When young Leto Atreides is sent to study on the world of Ix, he lands on a desolate plain of barren rock, freezing rain, and 0 signs of civilization. But a transparent elevator takes him miles beneath the crust. There he finds Vernis, a breathtaking high-tech utopia. It is a massive, inverted city hanging from the cavern roof over an underground lake, all bathed in the light of a false projected sky. By burying their entire civilization, the Ixians conceal their advanced manufacturing from the prying eyes of the Empire. They are pushing the boundaries of technology, potentially even violating the strict religious bans on thinking machines, safely out of view. In an oppressive political system, true innovation cannot survive in the open. The Ixians protect their brilliance by presenting a flawless, primitive facade of vulnerability to the rest of the universe. We see this exact dynamic mirrored on Arrakis. The Empire has written off the scorching, waterless surface as an entirely hostile dead zone. But Imperial planetologist Pardot Kynes decides to walk out into the wasteland to look closer. Where others see only sterile rock, Kynes observes minute life forms. He finds specialized lichens clinging to shaded crevices and insects adapted to harvest the slightest traces of morning dew. The environment is brutal, but life is actively surviving. Then, at the peak of an isolated, desolate mountain, Kynes finds something that shouldn't exist in a wasteland: hand-carved stone steps. In a world the Empire considers a graveyard, he has found the unmistakable footprint of a hidden civilization. The ecology of Arrakis reflects the political reality of the galaxy. The entities with the greatest endurance and the highest potential for danger are those that adapt, evolve, and multiply completely out of sight. The ultimate test of this power dynamic takes place in a pitch-black forest on a Harkonnen hunting reserve. 9-year-old Duncan Idaho is dropped into the freezing woods to serve as live prey for a squad of heavily armed Harkonnen guards. On one side, a child in thin clothes with a dull knife and a flashlight. On the other, a squad of adults in climate-controlled armor, tracking him with laser rifles. Duncan quickly realizes that running is pointless. The Harkonnens aren't tracking his footprints. They are following the signal of an electronic micro-tracker implanted deep in the muscle of his arm. Hiding in a cramped, dark cave, the boy makes a horrific choice. Using his dull knife, he cuts into his own flesh and carves the implant out of his shoulder. He doesn't destroy the device. Instead, he drops the bloody tracker at the bottom of the steep cave to serve as bait, then climbs up and waits beside a precarious, heavy boulder. A Harkonnen hunter eventually follows the signal. Expecting to find a cowering, bleeding child, the armored man crawls into the low cave. Duncan pushes the boulder over the ledge, crushing the man's spine. Without hesitation, the 9-year-old crawls down, slits the paralyzed hunter's throat, and takes his laser rifle. In a matter of minutes, the prey transforms into the predator. High-tech armor and absolute cruelty mean nothing against a target willing to sacrifice their own flesh for a tactical advantage. Duncan dismantles superior technology with sheer, unyielding will. We have an untouchable baron humiliated by a few lines of financial data. A utopian society thriving beneath freezing rocks. A harsh desert harboring a fierce, hidden civilization. And a hunted child who bleeds himself to execute his oppressor. The masters of this universe share a fatal flaw. They rely on massive fleets and overt displays of dominance. That reliance completely blinds them to the lethal adaptability of the people they oppress. In a galaxy ruled by self-proclaimed giants, brute force is a liability. The true architects of tomorrow are the ones who have mastered the art of fighting in the dark.